This is surveillance footage of 23-year-old Marisela Botello, moments before she was murdered and dumped in the woods.
I guess just from all the movement going on in the bed, that's when I wake up and I see Lisa on top of her.
What is she doing?
She's like with the knife coming down like this.
She had gone home with a charming stranger that she met at a bar, not knowing of the horror that would befall her. But as it turned out, the man was not the only one she had to worry about.
I looked towards Lisa and I grabbed Lisa and I pinned her to the wall and I'm like, what the F are you doing, you know? And she's like, I told you not to bring any more girls over here.
So what exactly happened that early October morning? Who attacked Marisela? And why did it take so long for the perpetrators to be brought to justice? Let's look at this tragic case of the 23-year-old who was stabbed in jealous rage after a three-way went wrong. Marisela Botello Valdez was a beautiful, vibrant, and trusting 23-year-old from Seattle, Washington. She lived with her parents and little brother and had dreams of becoming a nutritionist. Marisela loved adventure and traveling and was always open to meeting new people. On Friday, October 2nd, 2020, Marisela booked a plane ticket to Dallas, Texas, to visit her ex-boyfriend, Raul Ortiz. The two met when he lived in Seattle and had a thing before he moved to Dallas. Marisela planned to spend the weekend with him before returning home on Monday, October 5th. The weekend started well, and the two had an enjoyable time together. But on their last night together, Raul got a bit too drunk and vomited on his shirt. Then when they got back to his apartment, they realized that he didn't have his key. Raul later told the police that he passed out outside his apartment, and Marisela, not wanting to wait by the door, took an Uber to a club called Deep Ellum by herself.
She got an Uber, went to Deep Ellum, and I literally slept outside my apartment out in the balcony, like vomit on me.
A security camera from outside the club captured Marisela walking towards the parking lot with an unidentified man at around 1:15 a.m. Another footage showed the two heading towards a vehicle that was later identified as a 2014 black Audi A3. Marisela was seen getting into the car with the unknown man. But since there was no audio and there was little to go on, it was difficult to know at that point whether she got in willingly or not. Earlier that night, Marisela had posted a picture on Snapchat of herself wearing a metallic purple dress, which was the same one she was wearing in the security video. When Raul woke up the next morning, he was shocked to find that Marisela had not yet returned. He knew that she had an early morning flight and her stuff was still in his apartment. He tried calling and texting her, but there was no response. Worried that something bad had happened to her, he called 911 and reported her missing. He also called Marisela's parents to give them the troubling news.
A young woman was visiting Dallas more than a week ago and went out in Deep Ellum. Her friends and family haven't seen her since. As Alex Rosier reports, they're desperately hoping someone can help find her.
On a Sunday in Dallas, Deep Ellum is one of the city's most popular spots.
This is what I've been doing down here the past few days.
But it's a place Patrick Helmbrecht never planned to visit.
That she was in here, been missing since the 4th.
He's looking for his friend Marisela Botello.
She missed her scheduled flight back to Seattle on the 5th as well.
Visiting from Seattle after a weekend with her ex-boyfriend, she went drinking alone on Monday, October 5th. Just after midnight, a Lyft dropped her on Elm Street, and surveillance video showed her leaving Select Start, but she hasn't been seen since.
Yes, understandably, Marisela's family and friends were desperate to find her. They knew that something was wrong because there was no activity on her social media and her phone was off. Her bank card had also not been used.
Well, she's not a new traveler, which is why this is all so odd to us that this happened to her, because she's always in contact. She's always in contact with the family, at least one of us, letting us know what she's doing. So for us to not know anything, she fell off the face of the earth, and it's completely, you know, it's worrisome. We know that something's wrong.
But just like in most cases that we've covered here involving people of color, police were slow to act, so Marisela's family and friends had to take the matter into their own hands to bring their loved one home. One of her friends, Patrick Helmbrecht, drove over 2,000 miles from Seattle to Dallas to search for her. He spent days hanging posters and talking to people to see if they knew anything about her whereabouts. He also obtained surveillance footage from the night she disappeared.
Just kind of been piecing together like a bunch of videos, just going from bar to bar and kind of just putting it together myself.
Meanwhile, Marisela's aunt, Dennis Lee Castillo, obtained her niece's phone records that showed that Marisela last used her phone at 4 a.m. on October 5th.
From there, she just never came back. And that's around the same time also that we seen the last cell phone activity, the last time her debit card was ever used.
Initially, Dallas police classified Marisela's disappearance as a want-to-locate case, which is when relatives have been unable to make contact with someone. As you can tell, there isn't a lot of urgency associated with this because they assume that the person is voluntarily missing and probably, for some reason, doesn't want to be found by family members or friends. Police had found more surveillance footage that showed Marisela's movement the night she disappeared. At around 1:28 a.m., Marisela and the unknown man were seen entering a 7-Eleven together. In the surveillance footage, they appeared comfortable around each other and Marisela was even smiling. Marisela then walked towards the cooler to select a drink which she brought to the checkout counter. She appeared fine and lucid and didn't seem like she was being held against her will. Using the surveillance footage and the license plate readers set up across the city, police were able to identify the man in question as 31-year-old Charles Beltran. Charles, or Chuck as he was popularly known, worked door security at a club in the Deep Ellum area, which is where he had met Marisela. He was a convicted felon who had served time in prison for aggravated robbery after he pistol whipped a man and took his wallet. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but a judge released him on probation after about 4 months. However, he violated his probation and was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. When investigators checked the GPS from Marisela's cell phone, they found that her last known location corresponded with the home address registered to the Audi. It appeared that Marisela had gone home with Chuck willingly, but something happened that led to her disappearance. On the afternoon of October 14th, a week and a half since Marisela went missing, an FBI agent who had been assigned the case, along with several police officers, visited Chuck's home in Mesquite. They rang the doorbell and knocked for several minutes, but there was no response. So they decided to call the leaseholder of the house, who was a woman named Lisa Dykes. Lisa told the officers that she had not seen Chuck in over a week and could not contact him. When asked to clarify the nature of her relationship with him, she refused.
He is not a suspect. He's just currently a person of interest regarding this case because we know that he was the last person to have been seen with her and to speak with her. And we would just like the person to give us a call, let us know you're not a suspect. We just need some information.
If they could find it in their heart to tell where he is, I wouldn't want them to be suffering the pain I'm going through. It's very difficult not knowing anything.
After a month without any leads on the case, Marisela's missing person case was upgraded from want to locate to an endangered person, which is used when police have reason to suspect that the missing person is at risk of injury or death. The level of urgency here is a bit high.
This hurts so much. I can't stop thinking about her and ask God to protect her and that nothing bad has happened to her. I pray every day for any news about her.
As the investigation continued, police got a warrant to search Chuck's house, which was the last place Marisela was seen. The house looked like it had been hastily cleared out for a move. There were belongings scattered around, open drawers, and trash on the floor and counters. A mattress was even leaning against the wall in the front hallway. It wasn't clear how long the house had been empty, but during that time, the ceiling above the master bedroom had caved in, leaving piles of insulation on the furniture below. The kitchen was a mess, with leftover food and cleaning supplies left out. It was as if the people living there had suddenly left and never planned to come back. Police also noticed a creepy little statue set up like a shrine in one of the rooms. They didn't think much of it at first, but later they found out it was a figure of Santa Muerte, a female Grim Reaper. She represents death and is worshipped in folk Mexican Catholicism and some new pagan religions. So it appeared that the occupants of this home were involved in the occult. In one of the bedrooms, which was later discovered to be Chuck's, investigators noted that although the carpet had been cleaned, there were red and brown streaks beneath the carpet that later tested positive for Marisela's DNA. It was obvious that something terrible had happened in this room, and police were determined to get to the bottom of things. Investigators found that there were actually 3 people living in that house. That is, Chuck, Lisa Dykes, and another woman named Nina Morano. And their living arrangement was pretty interesting. Lisa, who had been a paralegal for over 30 years and had been married 3 times and raised 3 children. But at some point, she met Chuck and became completely obsessed with him.
She came in one morning and basically said that she had met a guy named Chuck The first couple of times that she talked about him, she kind of mentioned, kind of laughingly, like it was her boy toy.
She even kicked out her youngest daughter, Chelsea, so Chuck could move in. She reportedly told a coworker that she wanted her children out of the house so she could be able to live her life the way that she wanted.
And I was like, why? And she says, well, she goes, I'm ready to live the life that I want, and I can't do it with her here.
And she said that in front of Chelsea?
Yes.
And Chelsea heard her?
She did.
Lisa would go on to spend a lot of money on Chuck, investing in his rap career. Chuck had his own studio in the house equipped with things he needed to record his music. She also bought him a car and registered a business for him.
You moved in, you buy him all that studio equipment.
Yes.
That's true.
Absolutely.
He sets up a studio in your house.
He does.
And is he working at first?
He did. He was extremely devoted to it. He kept a whiteboard on the wall. He had scheduled songs that he was doing, scheduled recording times. He had someone coming over to help him produce. So he was actually doing what he was supposed to do.
Here is one of his rap videos, which was recorded outside their home in Mesquite. Both Lisa's co-worker and her longtime hairstylist told investigators that the nature of Lisa's relationship with Chuck was clear. She was his sugar mama and she was proud of it. She changed her appearance so she could keep up with him.
She came in one day and, you know, of course she had like longer blonde hair. I always did highlights in her hair. And she comes in one day and she's like, hey, I'm ready to do something completely different. And I was like, okay, well, you know, to most people, to most hairdressers, doing something different, it's like, we're going to put some lowlights in their hair, you know. But she wanted me to completely shave the sides of her head. But I asked her, I was like, how are you going to get away with that at work? I mean, you know, that seems a little inappropriate to do that. And she was like, oh, it's okay, you know, it'll be fine. So I thought that was like really interesting that she would go from like wearing this beautiful long blonde hair to, you know, to almost having no hair at all.
She even had the same tattoos that he did.
Chuck has a lot of tattoos, doesn't he?
Yes.
In fact, the one that's right there on your wrist, if you'll show that to the jury, please. We're talking about the one right there on your wrist, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one right there.
Right.
You're aware that Chuck has that same tattoo, doesn't he?
He does. Yes, he does.
Okay. So you are a 57-year-old woman investing in a rapper's career. You don't have any personal relationship at all, but you get a matching tattoo.
The tattoo is actually the logo for the business that I started for him, that I'm invested in, math class. That's what the tattoo is.
Lisa's arrangement with Chuck continued even after she married her best friend, Nina Morano.
Is that Nina and Lisa's unified vows?
Yes.
Okay, and then at the bottom it just mentions Nina, Lisa, and Chuck closing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at the bottom it says, we are hers, we are one.
We love each other. We love each other like sisters. Like, this is a unique relationship. I think we might think about marriage, Nina and I do, maybe differently than the average person. Not every marriage is based on sex or, you know, that physical connection. Nina and I are supportive of each other in every way other than that.
Nina was a lawyer from Pennsylvania who was licensed to practice in Florida and New York. On top of having a successful career, she had also inherited a huge fortune from her husband, who had recently passed away. Some sources say that Lisa married Nina because of the money. After the wedding, Nina moved in with Lisa and Chuck, and they all had this weird three-way relationship. Lisa and Nina even changed their surname to Beltran so that all three had the same last name. Cell phone records placed all three in the house with Marisela around the time she went missing. Lisa and Nina's phone GPS also showed that they traveled to a wooded area near East Beltline Road and Post Oak Road in Wilmer, Texas. Dozens of officers from various law enforcement agencies began scouring the area for Marisela's remains. On March 24, 2021, nearly 6 months after Marisela went missing, someone called the police to report that they had found what appeared to be a human skull in the woods. Tragically, the remains would turn out to be those of Marisela Botello Valadez.
Not only is the death of this young girl horrific, it's also complicated. Over the past few days, 2 women in Florida were arrested in connection to her death, and police, take a look at your screen right now, are still looking for a 3rd suspect, this man, Charles Beltran, the last person Botello was seen with. Botello is from Seattle. She visited Dallas in October and was last seen by a friend in Deep Ellum. Her remains were found in this wooded area in Wilmer, like you were talking about, last week. 5 months later. Now, that's where we saw members of the FBI Evidence Response Team unit today with Dallas PD conducting a follow-up search just 1 day after one of those Florida suspects were arrested. A law enforcement official telling us they were in the area with the FBI for almost 12 hours today.
2 days after Marisela's remains were found, police were able to track down Lisa and Nina in Miami, Florida. But before Lisa could be arrested, she took off. She remained in hiding for a few days before she was captured in Orlando. Chuck was arrested on April 1st in Utah. His car was recovered in New York, where police found a hair in the trunk that tested positive for Marisela's DNA. All 3 suspects were initially charged with capital murder, but somehow Nina and Lisa managed to get released on bail. They were put on house arrest after they each posted $500,000 bonds. The 2 followed the condition of their release for several months, but then on December 25th, 2021, they removed their ankle monitors and took off to Cambodia.
It appeared that their devices simultaneously were disabled.
They were on the run for 2 months, but the authorities eventually caught up with them.
Today we learned a lot of the details surrounding the time when Dykes was on the run with her wife/co-defendant, Nina Morano. They were out on bond at the time. We learned that surveillance video at an ATM in Cambodia ultimately led to their arrest. An FBI special agent who was there for that arrest testified that the women had $6,000 in cash and that their visas were set to expire the next day.
The 2 women thought they would escape the law by moving to another country, but they were sorely mistaken.
The travel records, the flight records, indicated that they did fly into Cambodia, but we also wanted to check Cambodian immigration records to make sure that they hadn't departed Cambodia, moving on elsewhere. So we worked with the immigration department to confirm that they, at least officially, were still in Cambodia. Then we also received information from Bank of America that they were using, Lisa and Nina were using their Bank of America ATM cards at various banks in Cambodia.
The FBI agent who was there for the arrest described how shocked Lisa was when she showed up at their doorstep.
Lisa looked at me and said, "What jurisdiction do you have here?" I was taken back by that comment.
In February 2022, the 2 women were extradited to the U.S. to face their charges. Both women pleaded not guilty to the murder, and they were held in custody to await trial. Up to this point, it was clear that they were both involved in Marisela's death. But what was yet to be revealed was their motive. Why did they kill Marisela? How did it happen? And what was Chuck's role in Marisela's death? Before the trial, Chuck agreed to cooperate with the DA's office and testify against Lisa. He said that Lisa had become possessive of him, warning him not to bring other women into their home. But in the early morning of October 5th, he disobeyed that rule after he met Marisela. After having a few drinks together, he took her to the house he shared with Lisa and Nina, and they hooked up.
After you have sex, what happens?
We chill, chop it up, talk for a little bit, smoke a cigarette. Well, I smoked a cigarette. And
did she smoke cigarettes?
No, she didn't.
She didn't smoke any cigarettes?
Nah, not around me.
And smoke cigarettes, talk, chat a little bit, then
Fell asleep.
were you aware that she had to leave the next day to catch a flight?
Yes, ma'am.
And was your plan to wake her up and take her back wherever she needed to be?
I mean, at that time, we wasn't even thinking.
As they were sleeping, Lisa reportedly came into the room and began attacking Marisela with a knife. Chuck said that he tried separating the 2, but Lisa just kept digging into Marisela.
I wake up to her screaming, saying, "Help me, help me." And I look up and I guess just from all the movement going on in the bed, that's when I wake up and I see Lisa on top of her.
What does she do?
She's like with the knife coming down like this. And once I noticed the knife, that's when I pushed Lisa off of her.
What happened when you pushed Lisa off of him?
I mean, just my reaction was just to push her, and I pushed her hard, and her and Marisela like tumble over. I see Lisa still grabbing her. I jump over the bed, and as I come over to the bed, I'm trying to pry Lisa off of her, pull her apart, and Lisa got to like her hair or something to where she can't. She's trying to like get off of her, and I'm trying to pry them apart. You know how it's like if you hold something and somebody's trying to pull and you like let it go.
Yeah.
Like Marisela just ends up as I'm pulling them off. It's like Lisa just kind of like let go, and she just tumbles over. She tumbles over and she falls on the bed. But I look, that's why I look behind me. She falls on the bed, and I look towards Lisa, and I grab Lisa, and I pin her to the wall, and I'm like, what the F are you doing, you know?
Eventually, Chuck was able to pull Lisa away from Marisela, but by then it was too late.
She just said that, I told you not to bring any more girls over here. Why are you disrespecting us? I do everything for you. And she was just like, you need to get your little...
Say it.
Your little bitch, and y'all need to leave now. I said, that's all you had to say, you know, and as I turn around, I'm fixing to tell Marisela, like, let's go. And she's there. In my mind, I'm like, this can't be happening. I go to the restroom. I come out of the room, and I come to the restroom, turn the light on. I throw water on my face, trying to, like, tell myself, like, wake the up. You know, like, this is not happening. Throw water on my face, and that's when I realized I'm still naked. Drop the towel, I put the towel on, come back in, and Lisa's just still standing there, like, just looking at her, just staring at her.
Chuck said that he told Lisa to call 911, but she refused. And fearing that he might be implicated in Marisela's murder, he left.
I could hear her saying something, like, I can't recall what she's saying, but it sounds like she's saying, like, what did I do? What did I do? As I come in, like, I see the whole scene again, and I yell at Lisa. I'm like, Lisa, and she's like not snapping out of it. She's just like staring. I'm like, Lisa, we have to call 911. She was like, no, like hold on, think about what you're doing before you do it. And to me, like registering that, I was just thinking about the whole scene. Like, I'm with her. I'm the last one with her. She's in my room. You know, it looks like I did something. So yeah, I was just like, you need to figure this shit out. You told me to leave. Like, you did this shit. Like, you need to. I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? I can't deal with this. Like, it was just so much to deal with. And I put my clothes on and grabbed my stuff and left.
He testified that after a few days, he received a call from Lisa and Nina telling him to come back home and that everything was okay.
At some point, the days after, did you talk to her?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you talked to her, was Nina on the phone as well?
Yes, ma'am.
What did y'all say?
They were just asking me, where have I been? Am I okay? Come back home. Everything's okay.
And when they said come back home, what did they tell you about how the home was?
They said it's back to normal. Everything's good. Just come home.
Did they tell you what happened to Marisela?
No, ma'am, but I mean, I figured.
Did you return back to the house?
Eventually I did.
And what did you return?
I didn't want to be around them, so I went when they weren't there. I packed me some clothes and stuff and left.
Several other witnesses also testified about Lisa's possessiveness towards Chuck. Her hairstylist said that although Lisa was the one that came up with the idea of this three-way arrangement, she would get angry whenever Chuck and Nina got together without her.
She was like, I could just kill her.
However, Lisa denied that she had any romantic interest in Chuck. She claimed that their relationship was business-oriented.
Were you jealous about him bringing women?
Absolutely not. He particularly seemed to like having a friend of his, male friend of his, come over to be with the girls that he brought home. So that's basically 2 guys and a girl.
And he would brag about it?
Absolutely.
What, did that make you jealous?
No.
She also denied killing Marisela in jealous rage, saying that she had never met the girl.
Was it a love interest thing?
No. Chuck was and continued to always be a business interest that went sideways.
Did you go into that room and stab Marisela?
No.
Did you struggle with Marisela?
No, absolutely not. No.
Did you argue with Chuck about Marisela?
No.
Had you ever met Marisela?
No.
However, the jury did not buy it and deliberated for only 90 minutes before finding her guilty of murder and tampering with evidence. Before sentencing, Marisela's brother gave an emotional victim impact statement on behalf of the family, saying, "I had my friends, but every day I had that person who I could just talk to, have those conversations you typically don't have with your parents. I see my mom every day doing her best as being the loving mother that she's always been. She's always taking care of us despite us losing our sister, their firstborn child." He ended his statement by telling Lisa that he hoped she got what she deserved in that prison cell. Lisa's defense asked for a lighter sentence based on Chuck's testimony, saying it was a crime of passion, which in Texas can reduce a murder sentence. For some reason, she lost it that night. That's sudden passion. That's what you heard from the witness stand. However, the prosecution disagreed and pushed for life in prison. There's no need for rehabilitation for Mrs. Dykes. It's just not necessary. She had all the tools to do the right things in life and to lead a good life without murdering an innocent 23-year-old. In the end, the jury sentenced Lisa to life in prison and a $10,000 fine for the murder charge.
The first verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, having heretofore found the defendant, Lisa Jo Dykes, guilty of the offense of murder as charged in the indictment, and not having found by a preponderance of the evidence that such offense occurred while the defendant was under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from adequate cause, assess her punishment at life in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and a fine of $10,000. The second verdict reads as follows. We, the jury, having found the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the offense of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the indictment, assess her punishment at confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 20 years. In addition thereto, assess a fine in the amount of $10,000. Ms. Dykes, I hope that you find that you've been treated with a much greater amount of dignity and respect than you ever treated Marisela Botello. May God have mercy on your soul.
Since it was proven that she was not involved in the actual murder, Nina's murder charges were thrown out and she accepted a plea deal for tampering with evidence. She was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Chuck, on the other hand, got 6 years after pleading guilty to tampering with human remains. What do you think about this case and what these 3 did? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button.